In the dark of the morning, my feet hit the ground, and I don't mind telling you, I'd like to turn around.
So when you're making a slab pot, everybody always asks me, how much clay do I need? And the answer is, I don't know. I can't tell you that. Slabs are made of flat pieces of clay that are joined together to make a vessel. So for example, this is a slab pot right there because it's a square. Back there on the windowsill is a slab pot. That brown vase one is a slab pot. Up there, the purple vase and the black vase are slab pots. It's going to have these flat surfaces that are joined together, which means that you have to make sure you have enough to make all those flat surfaces, right? And you're going to use a pattern, because if you don't, you have no guarantee that any of those things are going to work out. So all of our patterns are actually in these drawers. Okay, so here's all of the patterns, and they're in a variety of sizes, and they all have like names. This says a lid, mug A, bottom. If you make one of the base mugs, this is the one that I normally use for the base mugs. If you wanted to make a mug where you like tuck your hand in, you know what I mean? Have you seen those? That would be like this one. If there's a blue oval in here, you would use this to cut too. Like they're all labeled. Here's a hexagon if you want to do a hexagon pot. C, this goes with the bottom that's marked C. This is a big casserole dish I made one time where it went around, and I really liked that actually. So anyway, there's a variety of patterns in here, and all of them would be for something different. Oh, this is if you're going to make a vase, like my my fire vase over there. This Jamon fire pot was made with that pattern. Okay, so the patterns are really important, because only with a pattern do you know how much you even need. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if I need 4 of these, and I know my slab has to be enormous. If I only need one of, you know, like a mug, then I know I only need a long flat piece like that. So you kind of have to plan ahead and predict like that. So for this, I'm going to probably do a mug piece, and that means I need a long skinny slab because I need a long skinny rectangle. So before you even walk over that slab roller, I'm going to show you how to use the slab roller, because by now you guys have done a good job rolling out with the rolling pins, and lots of times slabs are just entirely made that way. And even when you use the slab roller, it makes it way too thick for a mug. So you'll have to come back and use rolling pins anyway, but this just saves you a lot of time. Go over to the slab roller with a piece that is shaped similar to what you want to get out. So if you want a big fat circle, then make kind of a fat circle. If you want a long narrow rectangle, then you better go over there with like a brick, because otherwise you won't be able to control the shape that swooshes out, you know what I mean? And it helps if you get pretty close to what you want. So I kind of pancake it out. I know I want a long rectangle, so I'm going to go over there with a piece like this. This is very old. This should never touch clay. So you have to protect it with these cloths. And if the cloths are wrinkled because someone just chucked it over here wet instead of actually like fluffing it out a little bit, you're going to get a wrinkle in your slab that could cause it to break. So every time people chuck cloths over here, they're not helping your cloths to get a nice, easy, nice good slab. So I'm going to protect the slab roller with one piece. Put my slab up here at the top so that it's going to get ready to get swooshed. And then I'm going to put another piece of cloth on top of it, so the top of the slab roller doesn't get in contact with it. And I also don't want it to wrinkle as I roll it. So sometimes I just kind of keep an eye on this part to make sure it's not going to wrinkle. Start to swoosh it by rolling it. Kind of keep checking. Like, see how that's going to make a wrinkle right there? That's not good. So I got to like keep that straightened out. Keep going. Roll. Okay, so that's going to squeeze to where that break is in the cloth, and I definitely don't want to reach your spot. And if I just, there you can see how it's trying to break right there. Can you see that? That's because there's a wrinkle underneath. So might try and release those quick before All right. So now if I made a pot out of this that was really big, like this one, or that's really the best example, that would be okay. But for like a mug or a smaller bowl, this is going to be so thick, it'll be really annoying, and you won't want to, like that one that's glazed over there, that's burgundy, that's so thick and chunky, like that's why that's like that, is because the person didn't take the time to roll it out afterwards, and you definitely want to do that. So grab your rolling pins and your sticks, but unfortunately, when you get to big sizes like this, the sticks aren't always like practical. Like I can't, roll like this. I want it to be a little bit wider, and I can't keep it on the stick. So you're going to have to do your best. The goal is not to run it down off the edge. Like you don't want that edge to be super thin while the rest of it is like normal. So you have to, what I do is push kind of in the middle, and then I let off on the edge and try not to roll the edge. And that usually gets a pretty even result. I want this to be wider, so I'm going to definitely roll this direction a little bit. And I'm not squishing that edge. I'm trying to get to the edge of it and push it out without crashing it off the edge. Every now and then I'll use a stick to like just get my bearings, but for the most part I have a good feel for it, which will come over time. Your goal is to have it all nice and even, the same thickness. See, I know I can push down on this side because I have that stick there, so that's helping me actually. Keep an idea. All right, now the problem is usually clay is not dry enough to build with. Right when you roll your slab, you have to wait a day. So sometimes people work on slab projects at the same time you're doing something else. Like get your slab rolled and then go do something else while your slab dries out a little bit. So I have to put this away and come back to it tomorrow to build. And that, once I have it rolled out pretty thin the way that I want it, I'm ready to pack it up for the night. Now the trick is, how wet do I want it to be, right? If I'm making something that's completely square and these slabs don't have to curve or bend, then fine. They can be like leather hard and it's going to be fine. So I probably wouldn't spray it at all. If I'm going to make something that curves, like the round casserole dish or something that's really curvy around, then I don't want this bone dry, but I also can't have it flopping over wet either. So I probably missed it, whatever. You have to make this judgment about how dry you're going to get it. And if you need help, just ask me, because it's definitely a sketchy decision to have to make. But you're going to need a big size bag, which there are lots in here. That's just a piece of plastic, but as long as it covers it, that'll work. And I'm going to need a board to put underneath it. And slide it underneath the fabric. I can't tell you how many slabs I find where somebody just wrapped the cloth kind of over it and stuck it in the shelf. I don't know what they thought was going to happen, but of course you come in tomorrow and it's bone dry and you can't do anything with it. It just crumbles. So you really have to be covering it, tucking it, all that stuff. So now I don't think I'm going to spray it, but I'm going to mash this down so no air is getting in there, right? And then I'm going to tuck it around all of its edges. Now, when you come right in the classroom next door, go left, and there's those little cupboards in there that have like long boards in them, like oven shelves, and that's where this is going to go. Okay, that's the only place that we really have that's kind of long enough to deal with these. So I'll put this in there. And when you come in the next day, it should look like this. All covered. It was on a board, so it should be, oh yeah, ooh. I'm going to get rid of the boards underneath it so I have a nice flat surface to work on. This is the part where I'm going to get my pattern. Here. I'm going to cut out one of these and 3 of these to make like a low casserole dish. I have one just like this at home. So I know I'm going to put this one over here, make sure that fit. And I'm going to have to do 3 of these, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to lightly sketch them on there so I know where they're going to go. This one I could actually cut out because I don't need any pattern work on this. Again, just like when you were tracing your circles, keep your tool like straight up and down. Don't angle it. That is hard. Look how it's pushing against my tool. That's how dry it is. Save these because you're going to need to patch seams later and you know that they're the right dryness.
Don't forget to
on
get a board
this.
and a piece of paper to build on.
While I'm thinking about it because it's going to get complicated later. All right, so that's ready to go. Now for these, I'm gonna, I want this cool texture on them, so I'm gonna show you how to use a rolling stamp. Did I cut my pieces out and then store them, or cut my pieces out after I stored the clay? After. Why is that, do you think? Any idea? What's the driest part of this slab of clay I have in front of me? The edges. So every time I do this, now I'm cutting out a fresh piece, and my edges are fresh, which is good because I'm going to have to slip and score them to each other. And if they're all dried out, they won't go together very well. So you want them to be freshly cut out. Don't roll your slabs, cut it out, and then put it out to dry because you'll have dry edges to work with. Okay, so knowing where these are going to go, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to use one of these rollers to make a mark on the side. I could also roll with one of these cool things. So they will make this really cool stamp. And I'll just do a sample on this one, but watch how hard you have to push to get it to really, and I lined it up with some kind of line so I know what I'm doing. But that's a cool way to make a pattern on your slab as you have for a border or something. A lot of the bugs I make are like that, but I'm going to use this for a pattern also. I'm going to line it up right on this in the middle. The cool thing is it kind of gives the illusion of a coil made pot, even though it's not. And they better line up or I'm not going to like that. Why do you think I rolled it first with the pattern and then I'm cutting it out second? What's happening to the slab as I roll it? It's going stretching out, so it won't even be the same size. You have to cut it out later. Okay. But doing your texture before you even put it together is really helpful because it's a lot harder to do. All right, now to cut out my shapes. This is so hard, they probably didn't grow that much, which is kind of cool. Yep, I'm good. They grew like a little bit. Again, nice straight tool. Wow, that is so dry that it's actually bending my pin tool, which is why I should be using a clay knife. If I have one, I don't. So. Okay. You can see how dry they are, right? I'm still able to bend them, but they're actually really good at they're standing on their own, which is awesome. But I'm gonna have to bend them around the corner. So. You can get really complex, large shapes with slabs. Join sides. Well. All right. Step one. Slip and score where the slab's going to go. All right, let's do this guy first. Yeah, if your slab can't stand up like this on its own, it's probably too wet. Hopefully your slip will be better than this. Slipping and scoring is even more important for a slab piece because you're joining these drier pieces of clay. Coil pots survive because they're so wet and you're really blending those coils, but a slab pot is dry, so you have to be really good about your slipping and scoring. Make sure I match it up. Push down so that it scooshes out. Now I have to start my blending. Don't worry about the bottom. I'm going to go around and trim that up once it's a lot harder and I can get down there without ruining things. Again, a serious exchange of clay. I'm not just fooling around in there. I'm actually really scraping parts away. This wall is a lot fatter than the other one, so that's bad cutting out on my part and my bad rolling, actually. Now, when you join two ends, they can't be like this. They have to be at an angle. So for example, look at the bulletin board back there behind Adam. See how those ends are like the one goes all the way to the ceiling and the next one comes to the right and they have a square connection there in the upper left-hand corner or upper right-hand corner. Now look at that bulletin board over there behind Emily. See how that, they go to get like a picture frame at an angle? That's the kind of connection you want at your corners. You don't want it like that. You want it like that, so that it comes at an angle and not like two planks. Does that make sense? So in order to do that, I have to bevel this. I have to bevel this edge. So take your clay knife, which is going to work a lot better than this, especially since it's dry, and I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle right down the edge. And I'm going to save this because this is a perfect snake to seal my joint there. All right, I'm going to do the same thing to this on the opposite direction. Put a nice 45-degree angle right down there. Okay, slip and score marks. Score marks. And if you do this really well, you can actually save yourself the trouble of having to make a connecting snake there too. Although it's a good practice to do it. Lots of slip around this direction. The wetter the better. Get that on there, around this corner. It's really nice. Around this corner. Okay, push it down. Blend it. Now, obviously, this blending is going to mess with my pattern a little bit, but it can't be helped. Can't be helped. There's so much in that base right there. I'm going to blend it up. And I could go through and smooth all that out, but right now I just want to get things together. My clock is always ticking, and I know that if I get these all stuck together, I can worry about making it pretty later. You know what I mean? Okay, so now I'm going to go this way. And I got to get my little, that's going that way, so I need this to go this way. A little beveled edge here. Now, just because I can, I'm going to do a little overlap here with a button. I did it on another pot, and it looks so pretty. So, that guy in. One. Flip and score everything in there. All right. I still have to add snakes all around the inside edge to keep it from leaking. So that's my next step. And then depending on how my side seams are, I might have to add more snakes in there. Once you add the snakes, you are just about blending. Hi. Slab pot demo. Okay. Yeah. So last but not least, I have to add a snake all the way around inside there. So cut my circle. All right, can you guys see, take a look at this snake. I cut it off of the original piece, so I know it's the right length. See how it's like angled? That makes it perfect to fit right in the angle where it's going. So that's a really nice thing. If you keep those hanging around, you can use them for your snakes and they work out perfect. So they're exactly the same length. They have the really nice angle on them. And you have to have that in there to make your piece nice and watertight. Boring inside all the way around this corner. See how I put that snake in there? Right in there. Okay. And we're gonna blend that until you can't see it anymore. If I look inside your pot and I can see the snake, I take off points. That's just so you know. You guys are already departing, but if it's not blended, that's bad. Okay. See how smooth that is? That's your goal. Really smooth blend in there. Now I'm gonna put more snake all around the other side.
I know, but that's why you order a ton. Because the membership's like $45 a month and it's really expensive.
Making another triangle shaped snake. I'm gonna slip and score it in there. And that's pretty much the entire process for creating a slab pot. Again, you can use all different shapes. I've already dried the slab over like a plastic pretzel container or something so that it actually dried in the curve that I wanted. You have a lot of options available to make some really cool vessels that have straight, flat edges and are put together by pieces of patterns. Okay.